Hello, my name's Will Phillips. I'm the founder of Rex Roundtables. I want to speak to you today about the power of organization culture or climate. Culture is the new player in the design of organizations. The old players, and there's a big six, have to do with setting purpose and goals, strategy, structure or hierarchy, staffing, how you fill those positions, setting up your systems, and your sanctions and rewards and punishments on how you make things happen. Essentially, what you're trying to do as the leader of a business is to get a large number of people to work in the right harmony and to orchestrate their activity so that it leads to the desired result. This is the challenge in every organization about how you take what's in your head and get it into action and eventually results. Culture came on the scene in the business world probably in the 70s. That's when I first learned about it. If you're familiar with the Adizes life cycle of organizations, that is basically a description of core elements of an organization's culture that lead it to grow or age. But that's a different subject. Culture has been known for a long time. Napoleon, who was an extraordinarily successful military leader, said that an army ran 2/3 on morale and 1/3 on equipment. So culture is not a new idea, but it's new into the ranks of organizations. It's been around for a long time in the sports world. We know that a group of all-stars often does not create a great team. And we often see extraordinary athletic performers who can't figure out how to create a culture on the team of wholeness so the team can succeed. So this has been a concern of coaches for years, and it's why many coaches have often found post-coaching speaking careers talking to businesses. So every business has a formal code of conduct and an informal one. The formal one is written in your rules, regulations, policies, procedures, job descriptions, and so forth. The rules are external, however, and the culture is internal. I follow the rule because I know if I get caught or break it, I'll be fined. I follow the culture because it's inside, because the culture is me, it's mine. That's why I live up to it. So it turns out that it's the informal code that really happens. It's the informal code that is the reality of your business, whereas your formal code, everything you've designed and written in policies and procedures and manuals and announcements and memos, is your wish. But the reality is the culture. Now, the tough part about culture is that it's invisible. It consists of the actual attitudes and beliefs that your managers and employees hold. They're actually the same as yours, but you may not see it quite that way yet. It guides every employee's behavior and decisions. Now, the bigger the gap between the formal code of conduct that you want and the informal one that always grows up, the bigger the gap, the less likely your employees are to talk about the informal culture in your presence as the leader. Now, they will talk about it in a restroom or in the carpool or in the parking lot, but you don't hear it, so you don't see it. Every new employee who comes to work is often taken aside and coached. He says, I know that's the way the policy says we do it, but let me tell you what you really have to do if you want to make this happen. And now I learn about the informal code of conduct in our organization. So whenever an employee is not doing what you expect or hope for or plan for, try this on for size. It's likely they're being guided very precisely by the culture. It's the culture that's telling them what to do. It may not be what you want, and in fact, whenever you see someone not doing what you expect, hope, or plan for, it's an indication that there's a gap between the designed code of conduct and the real code of conduct or organization culture. So the culture that they're following, even though they're not doing what you want, is the one you designed. And here's how you designed it. By what you say and what you don't say. By what you do and what you don't do. By what you praise and reward and what not. So I'm sitting at the end of a customer service meeting where we're trying to strengthen customer service as a value and part of the organization's culture. Making good progress. At the end of the meeting, as everybody's standing up and walking out, the owner shouts across the room, "How are sales this week?" It's the only time the owner really participated in that meeting. And so what we find out is that every single employee just learned what really counts for the owner. Silent on customer service, active on sales this week. So don't take customer service very seriously. The boss thinks it's a nice idea, but he's not committed to it. So your good intentions of customer service don't get implemented because there is another stronger culture that you have installed called sales. So just remember this phrase. What you as a leader do speaks so loudly, people cannot hear what you've written in your policies, procedures, memos, guidelines, plans, and announcements. Your behavior is the formation of the culture. And it may be you as a single leader, generally it is, or it may be you as the leadership team. So the culture explains why things are the way they are in your organization, how decisions really get made, and how the real priorities are set, particularly when the organization is under stress. A couple of reasons that you should worry about culture in your club. When the formal and informal are out of sync, there's more confusion, more frustration, more inaction, and more wrong action. The cost? Low morale and high employee turnover. Why worry about culture? To get things done right the first time, every time, to be able to have people really hold themselves accountable, to get the follow-through you want, you'll need lots of supervision and management to make sure everybody does it right. This is basically policing, and it's very expensive, and it adds no benefit to the member, or to you, or to the employee. The cost of all this policing, 20 to 40% loss of productivity. That means revenue per employee, if you want a measure of productivity. Why worry about culture? It's the hidden barrier to most change. Research has pointed out that 70% of the change efforts in large corporations fail. And these are well designed, with great experts helping them set these up. The problem is the failure inevitably fails to take account of the culture. So the experts come in, they analyze, they often come up with very good ideas, and then they leave you to implement them. And over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months or years, you're trying to implement these changes in the old culture. And the old culture is like a huge autopilot that always shifts things back onto the old way. And the chances are that you as a leader are unconsciously reinforcing that old culture, not knowing that you're doing it, except by the fact that you're not able to implement well. So, to implement way better, build a strong organization culture. The cost of not having this is about a 70% reduction in the ability of your organization to adapt to change. Why worry about culture? The Gallup Company has done some interesting research and point out that organizations in the top 10% in terms of the strength of their culture have 4 times the profit, 4 times, of those in the bottom 10%. More interestingly, they have 2.5 times the profit, not 2.5% more, 2.5 times more profit than those with an average organization culture. In fact, they find that the curve of improving your culture kind of goes like this. And that is that improving it from 10% strong to 20% strong, almost no change. 50% to 60%, it's when you go from 90 to 95% that you're hitting home runs. With conscious design of your culture and persistent, disciplined attentiveness to installing it, the gap between the formal and the informal culture can disappear. And finally, you become efficient. You become in sync. This is rare. It's probably about this good in about 6 clubs that I know of. Some clubs are even closer. I know of no clubs where there's perfect sync. But those clubs that are close in the 95th to 98th percentile, you know them because they're famous for how they operate and their performance. So a well-designed and consistently practiced culture ends up being the secret sauce of high performance. And it's a wonderful secret because it's extremely hard to copy. Even if someone who is passionately committed to your culture leaves your organization, they can't take the culture with you. They'll go into an organization with a crummy culture, and before long they'll either leave there or they'll cave in and become a crummy culture supporter. So it's practically unexportable, and it's very difficult for people to see what it is you're doing. So a strong culture can give you a significant competitive advantage. It takes the question of, well, why is your club worth $80 a month when they're 10 or 20 or 39? Takes that question off the table. Takes it off the table. You will also find that good people, the ones you would like to recruit and hire to work for you, will be seeking you out and standing in line for positions. I've seen this happen twice. Once in the club business and once in another industry. The best way to solve the recruiting problem is to have a fabulous organization culture. You'll also become more responsive and more nimble and more focused on the customer, and you'll have the lowest cost. And there's one last little thing you get with a great culture. It's fun. It's fun. So, a strong culture installs a fundamentally sound set of strategic beliefs in everyone in your company. And it accelerates. Remember the big 6 I mentioned earlier? Strategy, structure, staffing, systems, rewards. It strengthens all of those. But without a strong culture, it trumps all of those and weakens these. So culture is the theme of many books, if you're a management book reader. In Search of Excellence, first one, Tom Peters, culture. All Jim Collins writing about culture. Marcus Buckingham about breaking the rules, culture. Patrick Lencioni about the 5 dysfunctions of a team, culture. Simon Sinek, starting with why, talking about culture. And more recently, Tony Hsieh from Zappos, speaking about how the whole strategy for Zappos is around the focus of their organizational culture, which is delivering happiness. And Rex will be holding its annual Rex conference in Las Vegas, March 19th. We have engaged Zappos to deliver 3 workshops that they use internally to train their people about how to design a culture, how to get breakthroughs, and how to use tribal leadership internally. Tribal leadership is a kind of leadership that is strongly driven by the culture. So we'll have 3 workshops. We'll have 3 to 4 Rex member clubs with very productive cultures talking about how they designed it, how they installed it, how they hire for it, and how they maintain it. So I encourage you to sign up for that conference. And if you do sign up, you will receive a bunch of other things between now and March 19th. Samples of organization culture statements, assessments, so you can look at your own organization culture, resources to watch, to read, and to listen to about organization culture, and guidance in helping you build a stronger organization culture in your business. It should be at the top of your list if you want high performance, less frustration, better distinctiveness in the marketplace. So in closing, why is it that not most clubs, but most businesses don't have a strong organizational culture? I think there's two primary reasons. One, it's invisible. Can't see it. Can't see it. And when we don't see it, we pretend as if it's not there, even though it's determining everybody's behavior every second of the day. Secondly, if you install a strong, strategically driven culture, and you commit to living up to it, it will create discomfort and pain. It's the same thing as an individual adopting a set of values that says, I will always act with integrity and follow through. And then it comes to your attention that you have not acted with integrity and followed through. And now you have to go back and truly apologize and correct the situation and try to do better next time. That process I do not find fun or enjoyable. It is uncomfortable. So living up to a real strong culture will be uncomfortable, particularly for the leader. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you March 19th.